All right, start it up.
All right, let's get things started with Alex Sarr.
That's the right pick.
I I like him going one because they need a center, and he's kind of going to give you that, but also very versatile guy. So he's a good pick for the Hawks. Get a nice little dynamic offense going, and also that he's going to help on the defensive end too,
He's gonna
which the
help out.
Hawks desperately need. I
We
mean,
need
they
an
let up like
anchor.
73 to Luca earlier in the season. So let's get this team back in the championship combos.
Yeah, I mean, there's Risa J talk recently, and I don't think it's gonna happen. But at number two, with Topic being injured, with his partially torn ACL, actually they have him low on this draft. They have him down to 9 on Fanspo. But I'm gonna go with Zachary Risa J out of France. Is gonna give you some shooting upside, give you some. They need center and they need guard, but I just don't like Klingon's upside for a number two pick. I don't like Topic with his injury. So you kind of had to create this like elite future wing trio of Corey Kispert, Bilal Koulibaly, and Zachary Risage. All right, with the number three overall pick, would you want to trade this pick? Do you, do you as new Rockets GM, Fast Mikey, want to trade this
Low
pick?
key, no. I would take Reed.
They're gonna. That's a yeah. I mean, I think at that point, yeah, you're just gonna use Reed Shepard as
Reed
like.
Reed or
Oh, you
Rob,
you talk, you
but I'll go
talk.
Reed.
So yeah, I mean
I'd
you.
go look, I would say the Rockets definitely need a guard because I
Yeah,
mean he's not gonna be your guy. So you're gonna have to get another guard with Green. You already got, the big men kind of figured out. Şengün's definitely capable of being a chess player at this point.
yeah.
And since he didn't blow out ACL, he's going to be chilling in the future. And we're also looking at a pretty
Oh, we lost Mikey. Oh, he did. We definitely lost him.
who's going to
He's back.
add a lot more shooting to this team. Which I mean, I wouldn't say they desperately need, but it's definitely something they should look for. You got defensive guys who can't shoot. Şengün's not really a guy who can shoot. Green isn't too consistent, so I'll take Reed here.
Yeah, he also could play some backup or backup one for you if you need it. He has playmaking ability. So I'm gonna dip into your well here with the Spurs. I am not gonna go guard here. I think this is an interesting case because Stefan Castle, who's my pick, he's just going to be a tremendous utility player. I don't see him as a lead guard in the NBA. I see him as a wing. He has a decent shot. He's not the best. He's really just going to be your just guard, your best guard. And he said he wants to go to a team with a like out of league guard. He could potentially be the number one for the Spurs, but I can also see them drafting Rob or Topic at 8. But I think with Topic's thing, Rob, I think Stefan Castle, he can go 6, he can go 5, he can go 7. Just get a guy who's like just a defensive anchor. Just build like a really good defensive core. All right.
So you're grabbing stuff.
Yeah, grab Stefan.
All right. So now we looking at the Pistons. I mean, realistically, you could take whoever the fuck you want, and it would still help you. But
I
you
want to
know what?
I want to trade
Honestly,
Klingon, but
I'm gonna give him. I'm gonna give him Dalton, bro. I'm gonna give
all
him
in
Dalton.
connect. I like
And
that pick. He fits their
the
timeline
reason
well.
I'm saying Dalton is because we got Duran, bro. We got Duran on that spot. I don't think you're necessarily gonna need a Klingon. I don't think you're gonna necessarily need a Buzelis. And even though Dillingham, he's pretty high up on this list. I actually think Dalton has much more upside. I mean, you just watch him in college. This guy, he can do it all. All right, as a guard, and adding that is always good for your offense because it's gonna bring more shooters to the floor, and this guy could score at all levels. So
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna
I
throw him
fuck
in there, even though that's probably
No, I fuck with this pick hard. Like, he fits their timeline. He can go in and start immediately. You can move Azar to the 2, or you can start connect at the 2 over Ivy because I just Monty Williams just seems not to like Ivy. He fits their timeline a lot better. Most of their guys are around the 22 years old. You don't want to be. No, not want to be, but like it's better to bring in a 22-year-old. I think for the Pistons than like an 18 or 19-year-old. So who's next? here this is interesting because I've always drafted Reed Shepard here, but I think in this situation, I'm not gonna believe any of like the doubts on Ron Holland because I see a lot of people saying he could go to 15 to 17 outside the lottery. I mean, the defensive upside, the shot could be there, but just he may become the best defender in this draft. So get some defense on there. Probably can play alongside Brandon Ingram. And oh, I thought we lost Mikey and he texted me. And yeah, I think just a defensive anchor for Ron Holland. I think he's actually one of the safer picks in this draft. All right, 7.
All right, one sec. Let, let me let me let me think here because
This
the
is a
the
very
Trailblazers are
interesting
interesting because
pick.
you don't know if Scoot's gonna pan out. You don't know.
I don't think you can go
So
guard there.
look, assuming Scoot does his thing, give me Klingon. I think this is
Yeah,
where Klingon
okay.
should
Yeah,
go
I would take
because
Klingon.
could use a guard like him who can move, who can get to the rim, and in situations can shoot it. I don't think he's going to be much of a shooter in the league. He really wasn't in college either, but he can throw down the three occasionally. I think he'd actually kind of fit what the Trailblazers are doing
Yeah,
because you got Rob Williams who could actually be a nice
I think
backup
Rob.
and give you that defense.
I think one of them gets traded too. So Klingon can get more playing time. One of Rob or DeAndre gets traded. Just
And yeah, I
you
mean,
don't want to lock him
you
there,
have
but
Aiton, but you
Aiton's probably. One of them's gonna get traded. I don't think both of them are gonna stay on this team.
yeah.
All right, number 8. I'm so I could go Buzelis at all the way at 8 is really interesting. Just his fall in this mock, but I just see the upside in Topic, and you here's this situation with why I think Topic is right over Dillingham, especially in the one. I just like Topic better. I like the taller guard, but it's really about that you Topic is not gonna play for like a whatever. I don't know. He's not gonna start the season most likely, and so you can have Stefan Castle run the first unit for a little while, or run the second unit, and then you can slide in. If that doesn't work, you can slide in Topic, so you really know what you have with Stefan Castle if he can be a lead guard in this league, and then you draft a guy who you expect to be your future lead guard. So I think if that would be such an ideal scenario for the Spurs to get both Stefan Castle and Nikola Topic in this draft, like that's elite. Now we got Memphis at 9.
Look now, Memphis actually a little bit of a difficult pick here because you didn't really get to see this Memphis squad with Ja and like how it would work. But honestly, I think that you could slide Mataz in here, and it wouldn't be like a terrible pick. I also think they low key need a guard like Dillingham. I kind of think, but I'm not too eager to draft a guard since we got Ja. So
You gotta go
we'll go
Matas.
Mataz here.
Yeah,
I think this is actually a pretty decent spot for him to fall. And I don't really think any of those other teams will be too eager to draft him. I mean, that's
yeah.
probably
There's
stupid to
just
say, but
no. I mean,
they don't
there's
really
so much
have.
upside. He's the biggest high floor, low ceiling guy. Sorry, low floor, high ceiling guy in the draft. But like, if he develops
Yeah.
into like the all star caliber player, he has all star potential. I truly believe that if he develops like that, an all star caliber wing with his shooting potential is like insane in Memphis. All right, Jazz. Their lineup is weird. They say point guard. I don't think they need point guard that much. I'm actually gonna go with real. Rob falling past year is kind of insane, but they already have a lot of small guards in Colin Sexton, Keontae George. Let's go with taller guard. Let's go defense. Get a really good shooter, um, a really good defender, a really willing defender in Cody Williams. Just to be like a wing slash probably no, yeah, fully wing just for them. I feel like they need wing more than guard or big. All right, Bulls are up.
All right, you know what? Because I don't see this Bulls roster lasting long term. I'll throw Rob in there because this guy could actually be a really good guy to build around, especially since they don't necessarily have a lead guard right now. I mean, you could say
Yeah,
Kobe White kind of took over, but Alonzo long term at this point. I mean, they're probably going to try and ship Levine as well. So you
Yeah.
might as well try and build around a new guard who could, reach the caliber that Levine was at or reach the caliber that Ball was supposed to reach. And
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I know, this guy isn't really an injury threat. So, I think he's a safe pick. And
At
especially since
11
these other
too.
teams probably, yeah, it is kind of crazy since he was projected
It's
top five. But,
Yeah, but
you
I
know,
know I meant the board. The board felt like this. Like I'm looking at this, like no goofy shit, no anything. Rob could fall in the top 10. I meant it's probably unlikely, but like if the board falls like this, I wouldn't be very surprised. So what am I? 12. I don't think the Thunder are making this pick. I'm gonna think they're gonna use this for Kyle Kuzma, for Cam Johnson, something like that. Get a rebounding, whatever, whatever. I'm yapping. But they need rebounding, so I don't think they need a Zach Edey type of rebounding. Kyle Filipowski he may be a little bit. I know he's falling down draft boards, but he's just a perfect fit. He's a great rebounder. He could space the floor. I feel like he's just an ideal fit for the Thunder and what they want to do. Sacramento's interesting. I don't. Sacramento's up. They can go in a lot of different directions, especially
because
like
the Kings actually have really good guys at every position.
yeah.
And,
But Malik
you
Monk's
know,
leaving
now
for
that I'm
sure.
looking at it here, maybe we could throw another guard in there,
Yeah, I would too.
but I don't know. Because their center depth isn't necessarily great either. So like I wouldn't mind a guy like Edie on this team, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna go with my boy Jared McCain on this team because now
I
you're
like
adding
that.
another lights out shooter on top of Murray. You're gonna have hella options on the wing. You got Fox and Sabonis down low. I actually kind of like how that would possibly work. And if
Especially for like
he could be really good off the bench as well if you're gonna
yeah.
choose to start Monk.
No,
But who
Monk's
knows?
gone.
We'll take that.
Monk's gone for sure. They're not gonna be able to pay Monk.
Yeah, and if Monk's gone, you fill in the
Yeah,
void that he's leaving behind because that's
perfect.
one of your shooters. That's one of your elite guys.
Yeah.
And who knows, McCain could be a better shooter than Monk is, like from what it looks.
No, I like that pick. Portland. Who did we draft for Portland? Donovan Clingan. Jacoby Walter's a good fit, but T. John Salon's upside. I mean, there's top 10 talks about T. John Salon. He's getting a lot of hype. More of like he can play. He's probably gonna play the four, but could play the five. Just hella upside for T. John Salon. And Portland can use high upside guys. And you come out of this draft with Salon, one of the higher upside guys in this draft, and Donovan Clingan, just a guy who's like way more of a high floor guy. That's like a great like way to come out of this draft. How do you even get this pick? I don't even remember how they got this pick. But it's the Warriors pick. All right, the Heatles, the formerly known as the Heatles. They have a lot of options here. There's still a lot of
The
good
Heat.
players.
I mean, like, look, you got Bam,
They do have Bam.
so, and I assume they'd keep Bam even if they don't go on with Jimmy Butler. So honestly, what I think this team could use is a good guard, and I'll throw in Jacoby Walter here.
Kobe
I think
Walters is
that he
interesting.
would actually kind of fit this system because I mean, if you think about it, they haven't really had like super big players at their guard positions. You got like Terry Rozier, but I mean, how long is that going to last?
Yeah,
So
Tyler Hero's also
I actually
gone.
think this wouldn't be terrible. You could also say Devin Carter could
I
go
love Devin
here.
Carter. Everybody loves.
You know,
He's. I think Devin Carter's maybe just a better
Johnny,
fit.
who knows? But I think a guard should be their first option here. I mean, that's what they were looking for in Lillard if they would have, pursued that trade any further. So
Also, the thing is with Walter is he was a freshman and Baylor gave him a lot of like Baylor trusted him to take the final shots in games. That was also a really good roster, and they had the ball in this freshman's hands. And that's a heat culture type shit. Have you seen like they may go full heat culture jerseys and shit? It's like disgusting, but all right. 76ers, honestly, let's just go. I don't want to say this is highway robbery because I think this is Devin Carter's range, but like Devin Carter is getting so much love, and it's so easy to say he's super athletic, like a great shooter, good defender, and he's getting a lot of love. So he's a guy who also he's not the most NBA ready, but he's definitely like top five most NBA ready guys, and he can slot into like a contending Sixers team, and he's not start, but get like good rotation minutes right away. Next, are you gonna
All right,
draft
you see
Bronny?
now I'm
You gonna draft Bronny? You gonna draft Bronny?
no,
Okay,
I'm not gonna
yeah,
draft
you got
Bronny.
to draft Bronny.
Look, Lakers is a little tough because like you never know how the Lakers are gonna play. I personally think they're a much better team than how they tend to perform, and that could be for a lot of reasons. But
Yeah,
look, I'm not really looking for a lead guard here because you don't have too many guys here who I think could actually kind of who could end up blossoming into a better player than a guy like D'Angelo Russell. So fuck it. I'm throwing Edie in here.
you're throwing
I think
Edie in
the
here.
Lakers have always kind of needed good center depth
The Lakers
outside of
need a
Anthony
center.
Davis. You know, they had JaVale McGee in their championship run. I mean,
Hey,
Edie couldn't
hey,
hurt. He's going to
don't
give you the
diss him.
same thing.
Dissing JaVale McGee. Wow, that's crazy. All right.
And, I think he's going to do the same thing. I think he's going to provide the same kind of play that a guy like JaVale McGee would. Look, I'm not one of those guys who's like high on Edie in the NBA, but as far as the Lakers go, you know, I would stick with him. And if they're going to stick with the LeBron uh, sort of wave, I honestly think they'd be making more trades than they would, kind of be looking at the draft. But I
Yeah.
would, I would go with Edie here.
All right. I'm gonna go here with. This is a really tough pick because the Isaiah Collier is still on the board, so it kind of feels like highway robbery here to draft him. But I really like Keyshawn George's upside as like just a super like athletic shooter, and this may be a controversial pick, but it is who I'm going with. I'm standing by my shit. All right, Raptors, who have I'm just looking. They have like a really weird. They list Scotty Barnes as a shooting guard in this one. Still have Jonte Porter. Their depth chart looks terrible on the thing. All right, I'll let you make
All right,
your pick.
for the Raptors, like Raptors a little weird. They're in a very odd situation,
They have a
and
bunch of mid.
I don't really feel like you could go wrong here, but I feel like, I'm looking at Johnny Furphy. He's gonna probably be a similar kind of player to Grady Dick, and I'll still give Grady Dick some hope. He wasn't looking great, but like, there's no point in drafting a guy like him. So I'm gonna go Tristan da Silva here. I just feel like he's probably the most desirable out of all of these players on the list. And I mean, you could say Isaiah Collier here because I
More
guess you might
upside.
want to guard that a little better than Emmanuel quickly, but
I mean, Tristan Da Silva's way. He's definitely NBA ready. He's gonna come in and crack the rotation, and you can honestly say like that the Raptors don't need high upside guys because you have Pirtle, like 28, Barrett's 23 now. Quickly's probably 22. Scotty Barnes is like 21. So maybe the Raptors want a guy more in the 20 to 22 range than the 18 to 19 range. So Cavs really their biggest hole last year was just they don't have a backup center. They really need a backup big, and you could be losing Jared Allen on your own merit to trade him. So I'm gonna get a guy who can space the floor a little more, big, great rebounder. We're gonna go Collab where space the floor. He's a great rebounder. He could have gone in the lottery last year. Comes back, transfers to Indiana from Oregon, and ends up having a great year. Now the Pellies.
all right, Loki, you got me fucked up with this pick because Loki don't know what the Pelicans are gonna fucking do this offseason.
They
Have
need to
no
guard. They
fucking
they
clue.
need
I
a
don't
lead.
know if they're gonna want to build through the draft or like
I this could
trade these guys for
yeah.
stars. Um,
They need a guard
but
though and big.
you know what? I'll go with Collier. You can get yourself a
Collier's
nice
good. Yeah.
backup guard because I mean, look, McCollum's great. That's the thing too. Is like you
But
actually
he's
do
just not
have
a
guys at position
he's just not a
for the
point guard.
Pelicans.
He's just not really a lead guard. That's why I think they should go out and get like a Dejounte Murray, at least like a Tyus Jones. But Isaiah Collier is definitely
Yeah, but
at 21 is kind of insane. But it's
yeah, he was highly regarded, right?
yeah, he was a number one
I mean, he
player
was.
coming out of high school, and then he had a great start to the year, kind of just fell off. All right,
Yeah, I
Phoenix.
mean,
Oh, you can go. Are you done?
no, just that's what I was saying. You could hate on the pick. I don't really know if that would be the right pick, but
I
again,
would.
like you really don't know what the Pelicans are going to look like in a few months. So
Yeah, especially with Brandon Ingram. Yeah, they're one of like the big wild cards this offseason. So
yeah.
Suns, just don't draft Ronnie James. They need a guy who can be a lead guard and be a lead guard immediately. And Tyler Kolek is super NBA ready. He won. He did win the Bob Cousy Award this year. Led Marquette to back-to-back two seeds. Just kind of way very established in college. Best playmaker in college, and you can hope that translates to the NBA right away for a Suns team that wants to compete for a championship.
All right. Now the Bucks, you know, again, kind of the situation where like they're probably going to be making some moves because they had an extremely disappointing season. But honestly, I think you got to pair fucking Dame with a better guard than Malik fucking Beasley. And I'll throw at you. You got Furphy, who I'm really looking at for the shooting and his size, but I don't even think they would necessarily need him. Fuck it, I'm going with Terrence Shannon Jr. because I fucking
Ooh,
like this guy. This guy was
I
a
wouldn't say I like
terrible
him.
human being.
Okay, good.
He's
Okay, he does.
he's pretty good, and
He's
I actually
wasted.
think he would fit this position really well, especially like Malik Beasley's obviously an elite shooter. You can't expect someone to be shooting like that,
He's a
but
free agent
he
too.
can do a lot more. He can attack the rim. He's not just standing there shooting shots. And like your starting lineup's going to look a lot more deadly if this guy can definitely develop into something, especially if Dame is staying long term, which I assume he would in the situation he's in. So yeah, but honestly, the fucking Bucks should focus more on their coaching staff than the fucking draft. They need to figure that shit out.
But I mean, it's a great pick, except for the obvious. That's the only thing that would like hold this pick down. All right, back to back Knicks picks. I'll just straight up draft Johnny Furphy. I mean, I can't leave him on the board anymore. I know the Knicks are gonna want to get a defensive guy, more like a Bobby Klintman or a Ryan Dunn, but I know that's a better fit for them. But with Johnny Furphy on the board,
Yeah,
you're
but
getting
also like
just
the
another
Knicks
guy.
could use a guy who could,
Shoot,
be there ready to shoot the three.
yeah,
So,
that's why I drafted Furphy. And they have back to back picks, so you get the draft for your team too.
all right, you know what? Like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too familiar with these dudes, and so if I'm looking at the list for the next year, if we already got a guy who could shoot, just give me Yves. Just give me Yves. All right, give me whatever the fuck his name is because, he's gonna
Give
give you
me
some size, and I think the size hasn't necessarily been too much of an issue for the Knicks, but Mitchell Robinson is just not a very consistently healthy player. And I'd rather get a guy in there who can, play backup for Hartenstein, who I feel like will end up going to start. Like, I just think he's much better all around than Mitchell Robinson, except maybe rim protecting.
yeah.
But this guy's just going to give you more size. I don't know too much about him, so I can't speak on it,
You just
but
have a lot. You
I
just a
do
lot of.
think you could throw another center into the rotation that's fairly reliable, and I think it would pay some.
I mean, here's the thing: with most of these teams at this point, we are getting to the point where these guys are going to be spending a lot of time in the G League. Like, I think besides like your De Silvas and your Koleks and your Shannons, like and probably your Kalel Wares, once we get past like 18, you're gonna have
Yeah.
a lot of guys spending, or like 19, you're gonna have a lot of guys spending time in G League. So you can let Missy develop, you can let Furphy develop in the G League, and then just call him up in a couple of years. When Mitchell Robinson's gone, when like Alex Burks is gone, when Bogdan Bogdanov is gone. So we went. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a match made in heaven. If the Wizards walk out with Reese Ajay and Bub Carrington, I love Bub Carrington. He's the youngest, literally the youngest player in college history, and for the youngest player, for a guy to reclass and be like not even like a top five recruit. Like some of these, the only guys you see like reclassing are these top five recruits. He was a 91st overall recruit. Reclasses to Pitt, or reclasses to this year from next. I messed up everything. Reclass from next year's class to this goes and lights it up for Pitt. He was like the second best player on a Pitt team that arguably could have or should have made the tournament. And he can shoot, he can attack the rim really well. Pretty good playmaker, really athletic. I don't think. I mean, there's just he has the lowest floor in this draft of any first round pick, but his ceiling is actually pretty high. If you think you can develop him for Washington, he actually has a chance to start for you in the future. Now, final four picks with Minnesota.
All right. I'll go for Minnesota. Here's the thing. I actually feel like Minnesota's low key, but if you're gonna invest in a guy, I'm gonna go with Tyler Smith here. All right,
That's a great pick.
gives you a nice small forward. I think you
He's not
got
gonna play.
your big
He's
man
not gonna play
situation
small
kind of
forward.
figured out here in Minnesota.
He's probably gonna play power
But
forward. I feel
yeah,
like.
I mean, you either need a guy like you need another guard for Ant. I mean, you could still, I guess, run with Conley if he stays, but long term, you need to look for a guy who can.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe Justin Edwards too, just a guy that can like run guard for you.
I mean, unfortunately, I think they would have been very happy with Bob Carrington, but he doesn't go. So you could have drafted maybe Juan Nunez, but Tyler Smith has a lot of upside. Like he has the biggest range in the draft too. He can go in the lottery. He can fall all the way out of the first round. His range is insane. I don't know really where he's gonna go. So 27 feels fine. Now this team needs a lead guard, but they need a guy who can come in and play right away. The Nuggets do. So I really I'm gonna go with a guy who's getting a lot of love recently and kind of feels like similar to the way Jalen Williams got love late in the process. Go Jalen Tyson out of Cal. This is a third team, so 3 teams in 3 years. He was at Texas, then he went to Texas Tech and followed his coach to Cal. So like a lot of love going to Jalen Tyson recently. And next up, Utah back on. Got Cody Williams at 10. Now, who did they select? Was their second?
All right, look, I'm not gonna go Justin Edwards here because I feel like you got
Yeah, we already
guys
got
who can
Cody.
kind of I don't know, but you got guys on the Jazz who can play like him. So we're gonna go Kevin McCooler Jr., bro, because I feel like they actually need some bigger guys, especially if you're planning on getting rid of Lowry. Lowry's a long term guy, if I'm being
They
honest.
shouldn't.
So I feel like with a pick like this, you just go on potential. Like you said, guys are going to be in and out of the G League. So a guy like this, will have some size for you and will ultimately shape out your roster if he pans out. But again, you're not really like banking on these picks. So
Yeah. So, you're trying to win now if you're. I'm just kind of looking at like Juan Nunez who's still on the board, Justin Edwards, Cam Christie, Bobby Klintman, Ryan Dunn. All of those guys can be first round picks. But I'm going to go with a guy who had success for like the last 3 years, one of the best players in college basketball in Baylor Shireman. Can shoot. He's a great rebounder too. He's one of the guys who potentially could actually crack the Celtics rotation next year, just because like at South Dakota State, led them to whatever the NCAA tournament, then led Creighton to an Elite Eight and then a Sweet 16 this year. Like just a guy who had a lot of college success, long term college success. I'm focused on drafting like veteran guys like Tyler. Like that's just been an emphasis on this draft is like Tyler Kolek to the Suns, Terrence Shannon to the Bucks, Baylor Shireman to the Celtics. Like getting these veteran guys to teams that would try to play them more immediately. But this was a lot of fun, Mikey. It's a little co-mock draft. I know you don't know
it's
like a
been a
lot about.
pleasure.
Yeah, I know you don't know a lot about it, but honestly, you did a pretty good job. So thank you all for watching.